It's not that you're not good at spending time alone. It's simply that you maybe have never done it before. It's a skill that needs to be practiced. It's a muscle that needs to be strengthened. It's a discomfort that we need to push through if we ever want to feel at peace with ourselves and actually learn to enjoy our own company. Because the truth is, if you're unable to sit alone with your thoughts or enjoy your own company, you're just going to spend the rest of your life trying to avoid ever being alone with yourself or constantly needing a distraction. Like we talked about in the last episode, spending time alone is necessary and crucial for so many reasons. The biggest being, it's the only way to truly understand who you are and to really get to know and love yourself. But again, it's easier said than done, right? Like I started out in the last episode, I used to really not like spending time alone. In fact, I didn't know how. I hated it. And if you've never really intentionally spent time alone before, it can be a super scary and intimidating thought. The thought of it could feel very uncomfortable and unappealing and terrifying. Today, in part 2 of today's Solitude Series, we are going to talk all about how to spend time alone. Number 1, we need to stop thinking that being alone means we're lonely. Being alone and spending time in solitude, that's a physical state. But feeling lonely, that's an emotional state. And they don't go hand in hand, even though they might sound a little bit familiar, even though we might group them into the same bucket, they're not the same and they don't cause one another. There's been plenty of times where I've been out with friends or at work, surrounded by people, or in a coffee shop or on a date, and I've felt lonely. I've felt disconnected. I'm sure you can think of some times where you've been surrounded by people and felt disconnected and felt lonely, but you weren't physically alone. And on the flip side, there's been plenty of evenings I've spent in or days I've spent by myself, multiple days in a row I've spent by myself, and I felt perfectly at peace and content with my own company, not craving that deeper connection, not feeling lonely. So this is the first key shift. If you're going to successfully learn how to spend time alone, you need to unlearn that narrative that if you spend time alone, it's going to make you lonely, because it won't. And if you're holding on to that belief that anytime you are alone, you're lonely, you're never going to get to the point where you can actually enjoy being by yourself and spending time alone. You'll always have in the back of your mind this narrative and voice telling you that you're lonely, and you'll want to resist it and avoid it by making social plans instead. I'd even argue that spending time alone actually can make you less lonely. Why? Because when you spend time alone, you're getting to love your own company. You're getting to love yourself. You're doing this inner work and channeling this inner contentment and this inner peace that's going to reflect positively on all your relationships. It's going to make them even stronger because you're going to show up as a better version of yourself. And then you won't have to rely on all the people in your life or constantly making social plans in order to feel less lonely, because you don't even feel lonely by yourself. So actually spending time alone will make you less lonely, and stop telling yourself that spending time alone will make you lonely. Okay, second thing that you need to do in order to successfully spend time alone is to stop worrying about the judgment from others and stop thinking that it makes you a loser. We all know that this is a classic narrative that society has been feeding us literally since day one. Let's take that classic example of eating alone in the school cafeteria. You know exactly that fear that I'm talking about. Like, thinking back, oh my gosh, if I didn't have a lunch period with at least 2 or 3 friends and I didn't know who I was going to sit with at lunch, it was horrifying. Like, I would definitely have to transfer lunch periods. Like, what would people think if I was sitting alone at lunch? Oh my God, they would probably project all this judgment, think I'm such a loser. Even in movies, it's this way. It's like the uncool, quote, weird person is sitting alone at that lunch table, having no friends, sitting by the dumpster maybe even. And then the cool kids are surrounded by a million friends at the, quote, cool table. Again, ingraining this narrative, this idea in us that being alone makes you a loser and being cool means that you're constantly social and constantly with people. Or let's take the idea of being single, right? Like, the amount of times I've been at a family gathering or like talking to a family friend and they're like, oh, are you dating anyone? And I'm like, no, I'm actually single right now. And their response is kind of like, oh, that's okay. As if they kind of like feel bad for me, or they think that it's something bad. Like maybe there's something wrong with me, or, oh, poor her, she must be so lonely if she's single. It's almost like people don't understand why you would actually choose to be alone or choose to be single, because it's ingrained within us again that being single might have this negative narrative and negative connotation. These are storylines and narratives that we need to unlearn if we're ever going to successfully love spending time alone. And if we want to do so with confidence, we can let those comments and the judgment that others might project roll off our shoulders. What these narratives are actually doing, and all that they're doing, is making the idea of being alone undesirable, because we're associating that idea of being alone with the projection of judgment from others. We think that if we are alone, if we choose to be single, people are going to judge us. People are going to project their own insecurity around spending time alone onto us. and maybe label us as a loser or something. And then we might start to believe it ourselves. If we've been kind of internalizing this narrative from society or from certain people in our life, we might start to believe it. But this is not true. We need to unlearn this narrative, because this does not make you a loser or uncool. I was talking with a friend recently about eating out alone. I was telling her I like to go on solo dates sometimes. And she said to me, wow, I actually think it's so cool when I see someone eating out alone. She looks at them and says to herself, wow, they must be really secure in who they are. You know, they really must enjoy and love their own company. Just being totally by themselves and super content with that. I think they seem like such a badass. Like, I think that's so cool. Like, look how confident and secure in themselves that they are. She's not looking at them and saying like, wow, what a loser. She must not have any friends. What it really is a sign of confidence. It makes you a confident badass if you're able to embrace your own company and truly love yourself to spend time alone. And anyone who would project that judgment onto you and label you as a loser is genuinely just a projection of their own inability to do so themselves. So you aren't uncool or a loser by spending time alone. In fact, you're a confident badass who doesn't need a social buffer and who has enough self-love to be willing and able to go out and wine and dine themselves and to choose to spend time alone. So a second narrative we need to unlearn is letting go of that judgment from others or thinking you're a loser, because it's actually the opposite. Okay, number 3, spending time alone won't always feel like the most exciting and stimulating experience. What do I mean by this? So if you're looking for the excitement and the stimulation and the adrenaline rush sometimes and fun distraction of social plans, that's not what you really get from spending time alone. And that's not really why you're doing it. That's what your social plans are there for. If you want that connection, if you want that stimulation, that's what your social plans are for. But when you go into spending time alone, you need to set that expectation that that's not actually what it's going to be like. And I'm adding this as a point because if you go in expecting this from spending time alone, and then suddenly it's this like kind of quiet process where you feel like it's too quiet and you're just like alone with your thoughts and you're like, where are the people? Where is like the connection, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be disappointed and you're going to want to give up. Because the truth is, being alone will probably feel a bit quiet and unexciting at times, especially in the beginning. If again, you're used to having that constant distraction from friends, if you're used to constantly being surrounded by people, if you're not used to being alone and quiet with your thoughts, it's gonna feel slow and unexciting. And this silence, this slow pace makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And again, I think it's a big reason why people avoid spending this time alone. But this is a part of spending time alone. It's a normal and okay part of it. And it's important to go into whenever you are spending alone time, knowing that it's not going to be that super exciting, stimulating process where you're constantly in conversation and constantly like excited and laughing and all those things. Maybe it is for you, but it's slow. It's peaceful. It's quiet. It's relaxing. But that's the best part of it. It's to slow down. It's to tune back in with ourselves. It's to channel that inner peace. It's not to be surrounded by this noise and be social. We spend time alone to develop and nurture that relationship with ourselves, which means tapping into our inner selves, our inner knowing. And yeah, that is a quieter and slower process, but that's part of the discomfort we need to overcome and get used to, and will start to get good at with time. It's not to boost our ego and chase that adrenaline with social plans. And again, if that feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar in the beginning, it means you're just doing the right thing. So that's why this is an important point to note, because if you go in and it feels uncomfortable because it is slow, it is quiet, and you're not used to allowing your thoughts to come up, it will feel uncomfortable. But again, this is a muscle that we need to build. And over time, you are going to grow a lot more comfortable with that stillness and with those thoughts coming up. And you're going to start to learn to love and enjoy it. But it's super helpful and important to go into intentionally spending time alone, knowing that this is the case. Knowing that it's not going to be like when you're constantly social. It is going to feel slow, but that means you're doing it right. Okay, now that we've unlearned all these limiting beliefs, what's the fourth and final way to actually successfully spend time alone? Actually do the thing? Schedule alone time every single week. The key isn't to just spend time alone once and give up if it feels unnatural or boring, or suddenly you do it once and then you're a pro at it. Just like getting better at anything, we need to practice it. And what that means is we need to be consistent with it. And that's why it's important to schedule it in every single week. And before you say, oh, I don't have time for that, or like that sounds like a lot or a big commitment, hear me out. This does not have to be a big thing. This can literally be a 30-minute walk by yourself. This can be sitting on your couch and journaling. This can be going to check out a new coffee shop you've been wanting to try and treating yourself to a coffee. In fact, if you're starting out, it should be small. I now take myself on a solo date every single weekend. And it doesn't always look the same. Sometimes, and more often than not lately, it's a dinner out where I treat myself to some wine and some sushi and listen to some good music, maybe bring a journal. But sometimes it's literally just going for a walk, listening to music I enjoy, listening to a great podcast. Last weekend, I took myself to the Met, but it can be maybe exploring a new neighborhood that you've been wanting to check out, or maybe literally even staying in on your couch and doing something that you enjoy. I encourage that to not be Netflix because I feel like that doesn't really count because that's distraction, but something intentionally by yourself. That's all it has to be. And schedule that in every single week, whether that be during the week, whether it be on the weekend. Be intentional about it. And every single time you do, you're going to build that muscle more and more, and it is going to get easier and easier to a point where you actually will start to enjoy it and crave it, quite honestly. And if you can't really think of things that you would enjoy doing alone, or honestly, the thought of anything alone still intimidates you, one fun way to do this is to just think of something you've been wanting to do, something that's kind of been on your bucket list, right? Maybe it's a restaurant you've been wanting to check out. Maybe it's a concert coming to town you really want to go to. Maybe it's a neighborhood you really want to explore, a new coffee shop that opened up, a museum that's been on your list. Instead of waiting for a friend to be free or willing to go, or instead of texting all your friends and being like, hey, who wants to go to this, blah, 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 go do it alone. A past version of myself would text 5 different friends asking if they wanted to go do that thing with me or if they were free before I would actually commit to go doing it. If there was a concert in town, I wouldn't buy a ticket unless I confirmed that someone could go with me. If there was a restaurant or bar or coffee shop I'm wanting to try, I would wait until I had a date lined up or until I had plans with a friend and would go try it then. But doing it alone instead, A, makes you no longer have to just go along with someone else's plans or schedule to do what you actually want to do. And B, it makes this journey of learning to love spending time alone actually fun. Because if you really want to commit to scheduling these things in every week, really commit to this self-love journey of loving to spend time alone and tuning into that inner knowing, tuning into those answers, we want to make the journey fun. We want this to be something we look forward to, not something we dread every week. We don't want it to feel like a chore. It should be exciting. It should be an activity we love that we're actually going to look forward to. And that also assures that the actual experience is going to be a lot more enjoyable for ourselves because we already know we love that thing. It's just learning to love doing it with ourselves. So this way, not only are we spending time alone and growing that relationship with ourselves and building that muscle of learning to love alone time, but we're also doing something that we've always wanted to do. We're checking out something new. We're trying a new activity. We're checking something off our bucket list. So really, we're killing 2 birds with one stone and hopefully having fun along the way. And of course, I'm not saying do everything alone, right? I'm not saying stop reaching out to friends, do everything by yourself, be that confident, self-loving badass. Of course, there's going to be certain things that will be more fun to do with a friend, that you might enjoy better if you're with someone you love. But save 1 or 2 of those things for these solo dates that you schedule in every week. The point is to make those solo dates fun by doing something that you would really be excited to go do. So reserving a couple things on that list of yours to do solo, to try that out, to reserve for that solo date, and then saving the rest for your social time, for those plans with friends. Like anything, the key is balance, right? So if you have an activity in mind that you would love to do, that is the perfect opportunity to build that muscle. Don't wait to text a friend. Get it on the books right now and go do it yourself. As uncomfortable or scary as it may seem, again, can be 30 minutes, can be something small, and should be something small at first. But start scheduling in these weekly dates. This week, this is your week. And to help you stick to it, make it something that you're excited for. Make it something that you don't actually want to miss. Again, this is supposed to be fun. This is a fun part of the journey, and we're just getting to love ourselves along the way. So save this video whenever you need these reminders of how to spend time alone and how to love it along the way. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to press subscribe wherever you are listening for more realistic and relatable shifts to live a more fulfilling life. I'll see you all soon.